Hello readers, this is Gail. I'm going to demonstrate a think aloud of the Zora Neale Hurston short story Sweat. I'm going to start with the first few sentences and the title, and then I'm going to skip to some of the dialogue. The dialogue in this story uses dialect, and I just want to explore what happens for me as a reader as I try to read it out loud and make sense of kind of the phonetic way the dialect is presented to us as readers. So as I start with the story, first thing I'm thinking about is the title Sweat, which is such a strange one-word title, and it just makes me think a little bit about that word and my associations with it. Sweat always makes me think of hard work. It also kind of makes me think of what happens when we get scared or when we're in a dramatic situation. We get sweaty and clammy. So those are my initial thoughts as I see that title. I also noticed the date. I think that's something that Ann Charters includes, but about when the story was written. But it helps me to know 1926. It's a completely different time period, completely different era. There's different cultural expectations and norms, and it just helps me to read the story through that lens. I also noticed this one, which says to me that the story is divided into sections. So something I would typically do that I can't show because I just have a picture of this one page is I would flip through the story to see how many sections there are and just get a sense about how the story is broken up, and how long the sections are, that kind of thing. All right, so starting to read. It was 11 o'clock of a spring night in Florida. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, this is set in Florida. We're in the spring. It was Sunday. So right away we have a lot of contextual clues about the setting that seem important. In fact, that she's actually starting with those details seems especially important. Any other night. Oh, and here we hear it's night. Originally, when I saw it was 11 o'clock. Oh, no, she did say night here. Okay, so we're 11 o'clock at night, so it's kind of late. Delia Jones would have been in bed for 2 hours by this time. But she was a washerwoman, and Monday morning meant a great deal to her. So she collected the soiled clothes on Saturday when she returned to the clean things. Sunday night, after church, she sorted and put the white things to soak. It saved her almost a half day's start. So this is really helpful information for me about Delia right from the beginning, that 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday night, she is getting a jump start on her work for the next week. And she's doing this after church. So right away, I have an association with the title Sweat about what a hard worker she is and how much effort she puts in. A great hamper in the bedroom held the clothes that she brought home. It was so much neater than a number of bundles lying around. So right in this first paragraph, I get a lot of information about Delia, the kind of person she is, her work ethic, how she approaches things. So now I'm going to skip to some of the dialogue so I can explore what it's like to try to read that dialogue with the dialect that Hurston is using. She lifted her eyes to the door and saw him standing there, bent over with laughter at her fright. She screamed at him. "Sykes, what you throw that whip on me like dat? You know it would skeer me. Looks just like a snake, and you knows how skeered I is of snakes." So it's a little awkward to read it out loud, but I actually, as I read it out loud, I can start to hear the rhythm of the speech and how the phrasings like ah is actually the person saying I, but it's in that dialect, scared of how scared I is as how scared I is of snakes. So if I don't emphasize it too much, it helps me make better sense of it. "Course I knowed it. That's how come I done it." He slapped his leg with his hand and almost rolled on the ground in his mirth. Boy, this is a moment where I really don't like this character at all, that he is finding so much humor in how terrified she was. If you such a big fool that you got to have a fit over a earthworm or a string, I don't care how bad I scare you. So now I like him even less. And it's amazing how quickly I actually start to feel comfortable with the rhythm of the dialect once I start to read it out loud. You ain't got no business doing it. God knows it's a sin. Someday I'm gonna drop dead from some of your foolishness. Another thing, where you been with my rig? Rig, I wonder about that word here, what that means. I feeds that pony. Okay, so I'm remembering it's 1926, so the rig and the pony suggest maybe they don't have a car. The pony probably pulls the rig. He ain't for you to be driving with no bullwhip. Oh, so Sykes is using that whip that he scared her with to whip the pony as he drives. So that's another clue about who Sykes is and what kind of person he is. So I'll stop there for this story. That's a little bit of my think aloud, the thoughts that are happening, the way that I'm making sense of the text as I read it, the way I'm trying to articulate what I notice and what stands out to me, or how I'm piecing things together as I read. Certainly, the story with the dialect here might give you a little struggle at the beginning, but do try reading it out loud so you really start to hear the rhythm of it. And then as you read, you'll be able to use that rhythm in your head, even if you're not reading out loud anymore. All right, thanks everybody.